Hey, yo, Neek. Yo, did you hear about? You heard about like how the Lakers have been having trouble finding a coach now, right?
Yeah.
Did you hear what Darvin Ham said when they first hired him, and they asked him what his plans was with LeBron?
What'd he say?
He said, "I just want to ride him." What's up, y'all? It's June 11th, 2024. I'm Tony Styles. That's my man, Unique over there. Any thoughts on the Darvin Ham quote?
Yeah. Shout out to him for saying the right thing at exactly the wrong time, or maybe the wrong thing at the right time. I don't know. Depends on whose party you going to after this.
Whoever it is. Let's get into this day in NBA history. Being that we're in the midst of the finals, let's go June 11th, 1993. Michael Jordan of the Chicago Bulls and Charles Barkley of the Phoenix Suns both scored 42 points in a Chicago 111-108 victory, making it the first time in the finals history that opposing players each scored 40 or more points in a finals game. Um, One, what do you remember from that final, that 93 finals? Two, do you think the Suns had the best chance of dethroning the Bulls out of all the finals? And three, why do you think it took so long to see each player from opposing teams each get a 40-point game? And why do you think we don't see it more often?
All right. So as far as why it took so long, that's hard to say because we've seen all kinds of series where there was juggernauts, where there's this superstar on one team and a superstar on another. So I think it's just something about the finals brings you have to step up your game a little bit more, brings out an extra level of competitiveness. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
over a long series or over a long playoff run, you may be drained by the finals. So that might be why we're not seeing so many 40-point games or not so many 40-point games, but too many players scoring 40 plus. That might explain why, because you got Mike and Barkley who are up the same pedigree when it comes to just being dogs and doing what it takes to win and that will and everything like that. It didn't work out in Barkley's favor, but at the same time, his will is exactly what you need out of a superstar. And typically, what you see from Barkley would have equated to victories. So with that, Barkley has a winning mentality. Mike has an I'm better than everybody, I'm a killer mentality. So that's why you see the 40 points out of those two. As far as what I remember most, the Bulls winning. As far as were the Suns the best team to go up against the Bulls, I think so. I feel as though as far as the Bulls competition, the Suns 1 through 5 probably were the biggest problem for Chicago, just based on you don't know where the help is going to come from. Like you have an idea, but you already got Barkley, who's going to be Barkley. You got KJ, who's going to give you 20 and 10 a night, and then it's like you don't know if the rest of the help is going to come from a Marley, going to come from
Ainge, Oliver
right.
Miller, Mark West, Richard Dumas, Cedric Ceballos, Tom Chambers.
Yeah, so it's a pretty stacked team where any one of those players on any given night could go crazy. So because of that, they may have been in the best position to beat the Bulls out of the teams that went up against them in the finals.
Well, that was this day in NBA history. Real quick before we jump into the topic of the night, first off, I got a couple questions from the current finals going on. What's your takeaway after 2 games?
Kyrie got to do better. I take away from because Boston, even though the scoring as far as the people that are scoring the highest aren't what I
Yeah.
predicted, they are doing what I predicted of Boston. They are
Mm-hmm.
playing that team ball that we all expected. Everybody knew going into this that the X factor was going to be I got ready to call him Korolenko, Christoph Porzingis. So with that, I feel as though Luka is looking like he needs some more help because Luka's doing what you would expect and what you need from Luka. The only problem is with the rest of Dallas not really contributing as much. Luka's probably gonna have to average like 40, maybe 45 points to get back into the series.
Going, if you didn't know anything else, and the only thing you found out was this, if I said Jason Tatum through the first two games of the finals is shooting 31%, would you still predict Celtics up 2-0?
No. And that's the thing about Celtics being so deep and being like that veteran team, because you don't need Tatum necessarily to have a good game. And that's crazy that Tatum hasn't had particularly good games these first two games, and at the same time,
Hey,
like
want
you're
a fun
saying,
fact? Want a fun fact? Through 8 games in the NBA Finals, because Tatum played those 6, and then these 2, nobody has ever shot worse through 8 games.
see? So it's like he's not really playing particularly well, but his team is ready. This is what happens when your team has been gelling for a few seasons. They've been gelling all season. So they have that confidence that they needed. Whereas we got a Dallas team who's a very good team, but at the same time, they're good because they have a superstar in Luka who's just an amazing talent in his own right. Then you got Kyrie with all of his individual talents, and then you got just different pieces. But everybody's not always on the same page. Whereas Boston is more of a cohesive unit coming at you versus Dallas is more so Luka, and is Kyrie gonna go crazy? Is somebody off the bench gonna go crazy? But Boston is pretty much consistent with everybody's gonna do something to contribute.
I had a question for you. Do you like Jason Kidd as a coach?
Say that again.
Do you like Jason Kidd as a coach? Do you think he's a good coach?
I don't think he's a bad coach. Yeah, I say I like him as a coach.
Because it
I
just
feel,
seems Boston has a really big advantage in the coaching department as well.
I mean, that might be the case. You feel me? Just because I like him as a coach doesn't mean that he's the most experienced coach, especially not in this situation. Like even as a player, Jason Kidd only went to the finals so many times as a player, and yeah, now he's trying to coach players who haven't really been to the finals. So yeah, this is gonna be a difficult job up against players who have been to the finals a few times.
I got you. I got you. Well, that was our assessment. Hey, let's put it this way: we're on Tuesday again next week. I think that'll be before Game 6 and after Game 5. Will this final still be going on by then?
Next Tuesday? No, not the way Dallas is
After Game
playing.
5. After Game 5.
It's hard to say. I don't think so. I mean, remember, I predicted 6 games, so I would like
Yeah.
for it to continue to go on, but it's not looking like it. I mean, Dallas is gonna have to show me something in Game 3. Otherwise, yeah, it's looking like they might be down. And if they don't get swept, they look like they're gonna be down in 5.
Well, you better get on to Chris Brown and ask him to show you something. That's all I know. Um, let's get into the greatest individual games in NBA history. I know there's a lot. There's so many.
Yeah,
First,
man.
I would say this. Okay, so what I went ahead and did is I went ahead, and these aren't necessarily the top 10 games of all time, but I just really did it to mix it up.
Mm.
Throughout this playoff journey, we've done the greatest individual games of the conference finals, the second round, the first round, right? But the problem is when you talk about the greatest games of all time, especially when you go back in the 50s and 60s, they only played 2 rounds. So was that a conference finals? Was that the first
Yeah, it's
round?
confusing.
We didn't really put it. So me, I showed a lot of love to games, like in the 50s, the 60s,
Sure.
the 70s, the 80s. You know what I mean? I went back further for those rounds that I'll put it this way, the newest game I have in the mix is 86.
Okay, cool. Because I have, let's see, from the era you're referring to, I think I only have two. Yeah, I think I only have 2 games. No, actually, I got
Yeah,
3.
so I wanted to mix it up more. That way we don't have as many overlapping ones. And then I wanted to show more love, especially since this is a history of the NBA podcast. We haven't really got to show the history of some of these old players balling out. And if you if you're ever on my TikTok live, you'll see how I'm defending these old players against the new group, like when they're attacking Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain, and they don't get why I have Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain so high. So I definitely wanted to showcase kind of old players. Also, too, I didn't do the best games necessarily as well because I wanted to mix up. So it's really everybody in the 10 slots I have, they're only going to have one position. Now, some players obviously have more honorable mentions and all that. But I just didn't want to do a game where, it was like 10 straight games of Bill Russell or 10 straight games of Will, things like that. So I tried to mix it up and all that and have somebody in there or whatever. So why this isn't the true definition is 10 awesome games, and they're all older and all that. So let's get into it. You want to give me some honorable mentions, or you want me to go first, or what?
Yeah, actually, I got a few honorable mentions, so I'll run through these real quick. All right, first honorable mention I'm gonna go with should come as no surprise. I'm going with Iverson from 2000 in Game 1, because in Game 1 he gave us 48 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, 5 steals. He went perfect from the free throw line. He scored 7 points in OT. This is the game where he had that infamous step over shot on T. Lue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was sad.
Hey, I just found out. Did you know Tyronn Lue and Jason Tatum are cousins? I just found that out.
Jason Tatum? No, I didn't.
Now you know. I just found that out. Okay, so hold on. So I got a question to ask you, and I don't think anybody would have a problem with it because they won the game. It was amazing. They had no reason to win the game. Iverson played amazing that game. He's one of your favorite players all the time. What held that out of being in the top 10 for you?
I mean, there was people that had better games. Really, that's what it boiled down to. I mean, even though it was a great game for Iverson and I loved it, he only shot 30. He only shot 43% from the field, 37% from three.
Yeah.
Things like that. Without Iverson, they definitely lose. They definitely get demolished throughout that series. But like I was saying, I've seen some better individual performances in the finals.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, I'll give an honorable mention. I got, and this is crazy too because it was in a Game 7 win, but I just think he's got better games. I got Bill Russell, Game 7 of the 1960 finals. The dude scored 22 points, 35 rebounds, 4 assists, 80% from the free throw line. So hey, just out of curiosity, what do you say to people when they say Bill Russell put up shit stats?
I mean, is winning not a stat?
I wouldn't say that, but I'll put it this way.
That's what I would say to him.
No, right. But let me ask you this. For your career, you averaged 14 points, 22 rebounds, 4 assists. And then if you factor in the blocks, which they didn't keep, that's probably around 10 blocks and then a couple steals. So if I'm averaging a triple-double with blocks, I got 20-something rebounds, I got 14 points. Especially at a center position, I got 4 assists and a couple steals. Are those shit stats?
No, what it is they basically just wanted to see him averaging maybe 24 or in the 20s. I'm assuming they wanted to see him averaging about 24 to 30 points. Since that's not what they're seeing, they're looking at it like, all right, he wasn't really that good. But at the same time, like, his victories speak for themselves. He didn't need to be a ball dominant center. He didn't need to be the leading scorer. He didn't need to score in volume. And when he did need to do so, he did. He could do it at will. That's the difference. He played within the system.
But hey, if you're dropping 14, 15 points, that's still scoring, right?
Yeah.
15 points isn't nothing. I think he's 14.6 for his career. So 15 a game, that's a legit third score, is it not?
Yeah, and then also, what were they averaging back then as far as game points?
I don't know, probably high as shit, 110 to 120.
Probably about 110.
The pace was crazy, but they didn't make field goals either. They shot like shit. So all I'm saying is I would never tell somebody that's got 14 points, 22 rebounds, 10 blocks, 4 assists, and 2 steals that your stats suck.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
What was I going to say? Multiple points to Jordan's 93, but in 91 he put up 31 and 11. Averaged more assists than Magic in the first 4 games. Took a 20 assist a game. In Game 5 for Magic to pass him. I'm not going to say that 31 and 11 and 91 wasn't great, but 93 he was 41, 9, and 6. So I don't know what's what. I don't remember what he averaged on the rebounds as well. But I didn't watch the 91 series. I started watching basketball the year after, so I didn't even see any of that 91 series. But out of all the 5 finals I saw him in, 93 was the best one to me. Okay, so there's honorable mention. Who else you got on honorable mention?
All right.
Because I got another.
Yeah, I got a few more. All right, so move quickly. Another one, I'm going with LeBron. This might come as a shock, but I'm going with LeBron of 2018, game one against Golden State.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
So LeBron was going in. LeBron gave Cleveland 51 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds. He shot 59.4 field goal percentage. He actually went 42.9 from three. He shot 90% from the free throw line. I think this is the most points, if I'm not mistaken, the most LeBron has scored in the finals. But were it not for J.R. Smith dribbling the clock out, well, not the clock out, but dribbling all of their time out, yeah, who knows? You feel me? We may have seen an actual victory for Cleveland in that game. They still would have lost the series, but they might have won that game. So that is why he's an honorable mention. Shout out to J.R. Smith for putting LeBron on the honorable mention list.
Yeah, LeBron just completely quit after that. He was like, "Yo, this was our window to beat. We didn't take it," and he didn't give a shit after that. He's like, "I'm out to LA. I'm done dealing with this shit." Hey, I'll tell you what's crazy. Did you ever see the meme? You know the meme where LeBron's like with his arms out yelling at J.R. Smith?
Mm-hmm.
Like, still shot. Well, they got one where the meme says, it's like, "Damn, I said I'm the leader. What else more you want me to say?" It's like arguments with my girl. So I'm going to throw in two of Jerry West's games. So we got Jerry West game 4, 1966. Dude dropped 45 and 10 on 61%. And then we got Jerry West game 4, 1970. 37 points, 18 assists, 5 rebounds. Want to shout that out. Hey, real quick, do you think individually for what they did in their time, who do you think was a better player, Harden or West?
Oh, for what they did in their time, probably West.
Right. So I mean, I was on a TikTok live, and this dude was arguing how in James Harden Prime's best year is better than Curry's, and I'm just like screaming at him. I'm like, "Dog, there ain't no fucking way that some dude winning a title, you know what I mean, averaging around 30 is better than someone averaging 35 and not winning shit." There's no argument for that. None. You would trade titles for a few punk ass points? You know what I mean? So like I remember screaming at that, and then like we started getting, and then I got on Jerry West or whatever, and then like he's better than Jerry. I'm like, "No, he isn't." Like I'm freaking the fuck out. There ain't no way he's better than fucking Jerry West all time. So yeah, I got Jerry West. Real quick, just out of the numbers, would you rather drop 45 and 10 or 37 and 18?
37 and 18.
That's a hell of a game, man. That is a hell of a game. 37 and 18. All right. Who you got next, bro? Honorable mention.
Honorable mention. All right, Larry Bird. I'm going with Larry Bird, Game 6 in 1986 against Houston. 29 points, 11 rebounds, 2 of them offensive, 12 assists. So he got that triple-double, 3 steals to go with it. The reason why he's on my honorable mention list is because they won by 17.
No, I feel you. Last second shot, Kobe or Larry Bird? Who would you want taking it?
Bird.
Thank you. I was proving that point earlier. Like I said, we were doing a live, and people were saying I'm nuts for picking Bird over Kobe.
Bird. I mean, let me ask you this: who won the 3-point contest out of them two?
Bird.
Okay, then. So it's like, how crazy can you be? You go with the actual shooter. No one said Kobe's not a killer. I'm just saying Bird is a shooter.
And a killer. Hey, not only that, I'll put it this way. The fear I hear players talk, or admiration, I think I hear it more of the era with Bird than I do Kobe.
Say it again?
Like the admiration I hear from players over Bird that played against Bird, I think I hear that more than the ones with Kobe.
Oh, yeah.
Players that played against Bird have more respect for Bird. Players that played against Kobe have respect for Kobe. I could be wrong, but that's just what it seems like.
Kobe might have had more players during his era that were able to or doing the same things as him, and maybe not necessarily as talented as him, but like somewhat capable of mirroring what Kobe was doing more so than what Larry was doing. It's like, Kobe already had this formula from Mike. Look at how many people grew up wanting to play and be like Mike. So when you see Kobe hoop, it's more players that can hoop his style than Larry Bird. So
No,
I
I agree
think that's
with that.
gonna garner way more respect because Bird is doing it in a way he's doing everything at his pace. He's not jumping high. He's not moving fast or nothing, but he's doing all of the right things at the right time.
I think we also got to give him some credit because I mean it's hard to be the best player in the NBA in the mid 1980s and be white. That's hard to
It's
do.
hard to be the best on a team in the NBA and be white. Period.
No
Like no
shit.
offense.
No,
Like no
oh,
offense.
no,
I
no.
mean no
It
offense.
just is what it is. Just is what it is it not?
That's what I
So
think. That's why I said no offense.
yeah, it just is what it is. So I mean, if you got the best guy and he's winning 3 straight MVPs and a couple rings out of those, I mean, you know. So I mean, like I said, that's why I don't have Kobe over Bird. I just think Kobe. I just think Bird is better than Kobe. My next up honorable mention is we'll go John Havlicek, Game 2, 1969. Dude scored 43 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, 56% from the field, and 93% from the line. Also, too, I want everybody to understand this. John Havlicek, I think we need to start putting a little more respect on his name. Dude's got
Mm.
26,000 points, whatever it is, 8,000 rebounds, 7,000 assists. He's got however many All Stars, All NBA. He doesn't have an MVP, but at the end of the day, dude's got 8 rings, was the best player on 2 title teams, and outplayed Bill Russell in the finals one year. And
Okay.
1969 happened to be the year. I mean, they lost that game. That's why it's on there. But 43, 12, 6, and he shot 56 from the field and 93 from the line. Awesome game. Awesome game. Who else you got? Honorable
All right.
mention.
Honorable mention, real quick. I'm gonna go with Kareem, 1985.
Mm-hmm.
Game 5. They won this game by 9, but Kareem ended up bringing in 36 points, 3 blocks, 1 steal, 7 assists, 7 rebounds. Shot 80% from the free throw. He went 16 of 28 from the field, and this was all within 42 minutes. Um, the reason that's an honorable mention is because even though 36 points is nothing to sneeze at or be embarrassed about, it's just it is Kareem. It is a final. Kareem could have easily done more, but it is 85, so this is getting towards the end of his
30,
career.
he's 38.
Right. So.
So yeah, and he turned back the clock and won Finals MVP that year. That's why I always argue too. Like when I tell people it's Magic and Kareem, I go, I don't care how you want to look at it. First off, Magic stole his Finals MVP in 1980 because Kareem was averaging 33 and 14 in that Finals. Kareem was clearly the best player in 1980 on the fucking Lakers, and it's not even an argument. He's the MVP. Magic's a rookie. He's the best player on that because people always try to discredit. Like you got Kareem so high, but he's not even the best player on the. He's the best player on 3 title teams. Any way you want to slice it. If he's the best player on 80, he's the best player in 71. He's the best player in 82, and he's got the Finals MVP in 85. So why he didn't get the Finals MVP in 82, he was still the best player.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give a shout out, honorable mention, Wilt, 1972, Game 5. Game clinching win with the Lakers. Dude got 24 points, 29 rebounds, 4 assists on 71% shooting. 71%. You got another honorable mention or no?
Yeah, I do. All right, real quick. So I think I got a few more. That's cool. So I got Wade. I'm going with Dwayne Wade, 2006 Game 3. This is up against Dallas. Now, the reason why I'm going with this game before I give the score, let me get a stat. So he scored 42 points, 13 rebounds, 2 of them was offensive, 2 assists, 2 steals. This was a game that they needed because they were down 0-2 in the series at that point in time. The reason why it's an honorable mention though is because to me it was they didn't win. And I get this is all about the game. This was a good game to get back into the series, but it didn't lead to the victory that they needed. So it was basically a good individual game, but it didn't really change the tide of the series too much.
Right. And that's why I got someone like a Dr. J in 77 losing the series too. But he had 40 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 blocks, a steal, shot 59 from the field, 86 from the line. But they were up 2-0 against the 77 Blazers, lost the next 4, lost the title and all that. I think Dr. J, when people have Dr. J, are 15th, 16th all time. over guys like Havlicek and Barry. It really upsets me. You remember when we had Bobby Dandridge on, and he said Dr. J was the worst out of those three in his opinion.
Yeah,
They're all great. But I'm just saying, Havlicek's the best player on the title team, and so is Barry, and Dr. J was never the best player on the NBA title team. So I just can't have Dr. J over those guys. And Dr. J's great, you know what I mean? But growing up, everybody talked about Dr. J, and nobody talked about Rick Barry or John Havlicek, and they were just better players, I think, overall. Yeah, and then that's my last honorable mention. What other ones you got?
That's funny. Actually, you just mentioned Rick Barry, and he is one of my honorable mentions. Okay. Oh, no, not Rick Barry. I'm sorry, not Rick Barry. I'm gonna go with Bill Walton. Actually, I'm gonna put him on my honorable mention list. The game that I'm going with is from 1977. Bill Walton. This is Game 6, actually, against Portland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Game 6. This is the game where he scored 20 points with 23 rebounds, 7 assists, 8 blocks. As far as the honorable mention, why do I have this as an honorable mention?
He's number 10 on my list.
Say it again.
That's number 10 on my list.
Yeah, I mean, he was just outside of my list. To be honest, he just made it outside of my list, to be quite honest. So he could have easily then changed who I have as my number 10.
Right.
So he's deserving to be in the top 10. I'll say that.
I got you. Yeah, well, I mean, it wins the title. It's his only title. I'll tell you what, when I'm ranking all-time players, I've started doing this, and I've never ranked outside really the top 10, but I've started trying to rank like the top 100 players or whatever. Bill Walton, and George Mikan are the hardest people for me to rank.
You know what? I made a mistake. He is my number 10. My last honorable mention, I'm going with Rick Barry, actually, from 57. Rick Barry.
Oh, dog, Rick Barry. Yeah, I got 55 points. That's on my list.
Yeah, that's 55, 12, and 5. All right, so we'll save that one. But yeah, well, you already got my number 10.
Okay, well, you got my number 10 in Walton. We'll do my number 9. My number 9 is Hakeem, 1986, Game 5, and this is going to be the newest entry on my list. Dude, he shot 52% from the field. He had 14 rebounds. He had 3 assists. He had 2 steals. He had 32 points, and he had 8 blocks. They were down 3-1 against the 1986 Celtics, who many call the greatest team of all time, staving off elimination just to make it to a Game 6. And then they got beat. Hey, by the way, I don't remember which finals was. I think it was 81, but I could be wrong. Might be 86. But I just want to say this. As far as how hard it is to do it, Larry Bird's missed three-point shot, run in, get his offensive rebound, lay it up with his offhand as he slides it out of bounds, rebound it with the one hand, switch it to the offhand. I'm just saying, that might be, in terms of difficultness, the greatest play of all time.
That was hard. It was.
I want you to miss a three, get your own rebound in traffic, catch it with your dominant hand, and then with your offhand, switch all in midair and lay it up. All the while, we'll jump like 3 inches in the air. Like, you don't got much time to switch.
Yeah, that's nuts.
So yeah, that might be one of the greatest plays of all time. Also, another honorable mention on that, Anthony Davis, when he did back-to-back jump shot blocks on like LaMarcus Aldridge and Batum. I have never seen nobody block back-to-back jump shots. Long players too. So that's what I got. But yeah, so I got number 9, Hakeem coming in, best player I've ever seen play. Who you got coming in at number 9?
All right. So, wow, I have way too many here. All right. So for my number 9, I'm going with Jimmy Butler from 2020. This is up against the Lakers. This is Game 3. Now we saw a few different games. Actually, this is my number 9. I feel like I need to make this a 9A and B. Like this is it's the same player. So we're going with buckets.
Same series.
Same series, yeah, exactly, same series. So we got game 3 where he shot 40 of 20 for 70% from the field, 12 of 14 from free throw for 85.7, 11 rebounds, 13 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 40 points to give them a triple double. They ended up winning that game by 11. And then in game 6, he ends up scoring 35 points, 1 block, 5 steals, 11 assists, 12 rebounds. So he came back in game 6 with yet another triple double in the same series, shooting 57.9% from the field, 12 of 12 from free throw. So yeah, that's why he is my number 9.
You know what happened in that series? You know LeBron, Steph Curry, Deladova to him, right?
As they should have.
I forget which game it was, but it was either after game 3 or game 5. I don't remember which one. But, like, yeah, he just put up nothing in the next. Well, it had to be, I guess, in game 3, because in the game 4, he didn't do that when they went down 3-1. But, or game 5 when they went up 3-2. I don't remember exactly when. But all I'm saying is that dude was needing oxygen. He was dying after he put up, like, an awesome game.
He was nil. He was linked over on the scores table looking like he was going to die.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Why do you think Jimmy Butler is 18-19 a game in the regular season, and we see what this dude really can do?
Because
why isn't this dude 25-point a game scorer?
Because he's playing for the postseason. That's why. He just wants to play to have his team in a position. Like, he wants to play good enough to, like, have the rust off and, have the games under his belt for the season to where, he's healthy. But at the same time, he doesn't have to really overdo it because he doesn't have the team that you expect to be, like, number one in the conference too often. But he has that dangerous team you don't want to go up against in the playoffs. And I think to him, that matters more than the regular season play. I think Jimmy Butler, he's that player where he plays each season waiting to get to the playoffs and see how they're gonna do then. Like, he don't come in and be like, all right, I need to score 30 all season so I can get this individual accolade. He comes in thinking, all right, I need to gel with my team so that we know who we need to play hard against, or we know who we match well against in the playoffs. So I think that's why.
No, I got you. Makes sense. My number 8 game of all time is Jerry West, Game 1, 1969. It'd be higher. They won the game, and it'd be even higher if they won the series. But since they didn't win the series, it tends to be, if you didn't win the game, you didn't make the list. And if you didn't win the series, you kind of go to the back burner. Except for Walton. Walton ended up didn't win the series, but just in general. So Jerry West Game 1, just to let everybody know, he averaged 37.9 for that series. Only time a loser has ever been named Finals MVP. It was the first year they had it too. What's funny is the first year they introduced it, it really should have went to Havlicek because he was the best player on the team that won. And then the second best player was probably Russell. So the award named after Russell, the only year it was in play, between Jerry West and John Havlicek, Bill Russell really had no shot of winning the award that he's named after.
That's crazy.
Little fun fact. But anyways, yeah, Jerry West Game 1 was 53 points, 10 assists, 51% from the field, 85% from the line. I would really love if they could go back and maybe watch him and then tally up the steals, blocks, so we get some like defensive stats as well with some of these older players. Maybe put an asterisk to it, like, we don't have the totals of all of them, but, these are the totals we got, and then just kind of throw them in so we got kind of an idea of what people were getting and all that, because I think a lot of these older players, they get stifled, like the Bill Russell thing. If Bill Russell showed he was averaging 10 blocks a game, I don't think if he showed he was averaging a triple-double, you can't say he has shitty stats.
Mm-hmm.
And all that. But, yeah, Jerry West, for me, that's number 8 coming in. Who's number 8 for you?
All right. So for number 8, I'm going with James Worthy. Game 7.
Big game, James, triple-double.
That's exactly
I already know it.
1988 up against Detroit. Game 7, he got 36 points, 16 rebounds, 5 of them offensive, 10 assists, 2 steals. He actually ended up outshining Zeke, Kareem, and Magic. So, yeah, big game, James.
Well, I was going to say, in all defense, Isaiah Thomas did what? He sprained his ankle in Game 6, and why he played amazing in that game 6. Speaking of which, we should throw him an honorable mention. For those that don't know, Isaiah Thomas, honorable mention game 6. I don't know the whole stat line. I think he finished with 43. He had 25 in the fourth quarter on one leg. They lost, but amazing, one of the most amazing final performances you'll ever see. So dealing with the fact that, because I'll be honest with you, the Pistons probably should have three-peated. They were better than the Lakers that year. With the sprained ankle, Isaiah Thomas was ineffective. And then what makes it even worse is when they were going for the last second shot, the Lakers fans just stormed the court and they just allowed that shit.
Yeah, that was about
the last shot. It was bullshit. It was bullshit. And I like the Pistons. I don't like the Lakers either while we're on subject. But you know what I mean? Like, if we're just talking about honesty and fairness, it was bullshit. It was absolutely bullshit. So, yeah, Big Game James stole Magic's finals MVP and all that, because Magic was the best player on the team. But yeah, Big Game James he really came through in the clutch. My number 7th game, we already talked about it. Rick Barry, 67, game 3. They lost the series, but they did win that one. 55 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists. He shot 46%. Another little fun fact: do you know he averaged? I want to say he averaged 40.6 in that series.
That's ugly. That's crazy.
So what I'm saying is for all you people out there that think Dr. J is better than Rick Barry, holler at me when Dr. J is the best player on the title team and averaging 40 in a finals. He didn't win that finals, because then he went to the ABA after that. I think that was his rookie year, too. If not, it was either his rookie year or second year. So your first or second year, you're putting up 40 in the finals. And then he won, in 75 when they swept the Bullets or whatever. So, yeah, that's my number 7th guy. Who you got coming in at number 7?
Okay, so this is getting tough. All right, number 7. See, I'm torn between which MJ. And, I don't have MJ on my list yet, and that's unacceptable. If you would have seen the way I just called my phone, that's ridiculous. But, okay. So I have for MJ, I'm going to go with game 4 of the 93 series against the Suns. This game, he ends up scoring 55. You are absolutely correct. 55 points, 4 assists, 8 rebounds, 7 of them defensive. So he was just clearing boards on the defensive end. He went 13 of 18 from the field, from free throw. My apologies. He shot 56.8% from the field, so that's good. Going 21 of 37. He played for a whole 46 minutes. So, yeah. And I'm sorry.
Hey, quick question. I was going to say this because I remember that game well. They won 111-105, and down the stretch, Barkley fouled him, and he got an and one, and it kind of crushed it because it looked like the Suns could overtake them. But then when he got that and one at the end of the game, and it was just too much at that point. The game's over at that point. I remember that. Yeah. That's like the number 1 play I remember from that game.
Yeah. I can't mention that one though without also the flu game. I'm sorry, 97 flu game. Game 5 against the Utah Jazz, where we see Jordan put up 38, 7, 5 assists. He shot 48% from the field, went 40% from 3, 83% from the free throw, but he ended up scoring 15 points in the fourth quarter. He hit the clutch 3 with 25 seconds left in the game. They came back from a 16-point deficit. So, yeah, that's why I'm going with MJ. 93 game 4 and 97 game 5 is my 7 A and B.
Well, you hear what they're saying about that now, right? That it wasn't a flu game. That really the Utah Jazz fans poisoned his room service or some shit, and it was food poisoning.
Well, when it first happened in Chicago, we were hearing originally that it was food poisoning. So it just to us, we always knew he was sick. You feel me? It didn't matter if it was the flu, a hangover, or food poisoning. We just knew that he wasn't 100%. We could tell that he wasn't acting. You can see it all over his demeanor. So, yeah.
Well, that time he hung on Scottie Pippen after hitting that one shot in the fourth. Pippen's just basically carrying him off the court. He obviously could tell he was in pretty bad shape at that point in time.
Yeah, it was all bad.
Okay, so number 6, I got John Havlicek, 1968, Game 6, won the title. He scored 40 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, 50% from the field, and 100% from the line. That's coming in at number 6 with John Havlicek. Like I said, I got a new goal right now. I think we got to start including John Havlicek in like top 20 conversations, somewhere around there.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think that's where he's got to be. I think he's got to be top 20. I've been really, really set. Bottom line is this: at the end of the day, if he is the best player on 2 title teams, do you know how few players have that?
Yeah, it's not a common thing.
Right. If I had to guess, I would say there's about. Well, I was going to say. I mean, I'll just pick up the number. But if I had to guess, I'd say there's around 15 players all time that are the top, that are the best player on 2 title teams, somewhere around there. No more than 20. 15 to 20 would be my guess. So if you're one of 20 only players that ever did that, you got dope all-time stats, 26. You got a bunch of all-stars, all-NBAs. You got 8 titles overall. I just think we need to start elevating that dude just a little bit higher.
Sure, definitely.
And all that. So that's what I got coming at 6. Who you got coming in at 6?
I so hope this person is not on your list. I don't want to do it. I mean, I do want to do it. I do want to say this person, but I'm hoping it ain't on the list. But my number 6, I'm going with Elgin Baylor, 1962, Game 5 against Boston.
Oh yeah, he's on my list. but keep going.
So he ends up scoring 61 points, 22 rebounds, 1 assist, 17 of 19 for 89.5% shooting from the free throw. He went 22 of 46 from the field, so that's 47.8%. They did end up winning that game by 5. That's what I got.
Serious?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like I said, actually, he was going to be my number 5 anyways. So, and he'd be higher up a little bit too if they won the series probably, or if the field goal percentage was higher or whatever. But still, top 5 game all the time in the finals. Awesome game. I'll tell people too.
That's 22. You can't ignore that.
Well, here, I'm gonna put it this way. They say Shaq's game was that game on his birthday, Shaq's best game ever, and he got 61 and 21. I want to say. If it wasn't 61 and 20, it might be 61 and 23. But basically, that's the same thing. But his was a regular season game against the Clippers, and this was against Bill Russell. So I think it's a different level.
Different.
As our old friend D used to say, there's levels to this shit.
Yes, indeed.
So yeah. So I got him game 5. So why don't you rattle off your number 5 for me?
All right. My number 5 is the great Bill Russell himself in 1962 against LA Game 7. He only scored 30 points, and I'm not saying it like that's a low amount, but scored 30 points, but don't sneeze at the 40 rebounds that he grabbed. 4 assists to go with it as well.
Didn't he make like 15 out of 17 free throws or something like that in that game?
I didn't write that one down, but I believe.
I know he shot like 82% from the line because he's on my list.
Yeah, I think it was something like that.
Hey, would you say 30 points and 40 rebounds are bullshit statistics?
Definitely not. 40 rebounds, I think, is a record for Game 7.
Finals?
Yeah.
I think it's a record for finals, period. I could be wrong.
Yeah. So, yeah, 40 rebounds. You feel me? Most people don't even score 40 points. He got 40 rebounds, and he hit 30 points as well. It's not like everybody scores 30 points. So.
Yeah, he threw in 4 assists, which if you're getting 4 assists from your center, that's a good number.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is a good number. And that's your 4th guy?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and use him as my
4th? No, that was my 5th guy.
That was your 5th guy. Okay, so then who you got coming in at 4th?
Number 4, I have Walt Frazier coming in from 1970, Game 7 against it's the Knicks versus LA. He ends up putting in
37 and 19. Is that what it is?
Where did he? 36 and 19.
36 and 19. Yeah.
Yeah, 19 assists is crazy.
Hey, I'll tell you what's really crazy. If you watch that game, and I might be having it mixed up with the 74 finals game, but anyways, or the 73 conference finals, maybe that's what happened. But anyways, there's one of those games back there that there's a tape of, and you can watch on YouTube. It's just
Mm-hmm.
from one vantage point in the corner with no sound, no audio, and it's just them running up and down the court playing. It is a weird way to watch a basketball.
That would suck.
It's a weird way to watch a basketball game. But
Mm.
yeah, if you ever want to watch that game, there's a game on there with the Knicks and somebody, and I don't know, it might have been 70, might have been 73, I don't know. But there's like no audio, and the camera's just in one spot, and it's just back and forth.
Yeah, that's nice.
No, and that was number what for you?
That was number 4.
That was number 4. Okay, so I got at my fourth place, because you already read off my Baylor Russell. My fourth place is Wilt 1970. Was that game 7, 1970?
Ooh.
That you just named off with Walt? I think it was.
Oh, that
Wait,
I
wait.
just named? Yeah. I just named game 7. Yeah.
Okay, so the game before that, Wilt Chamberlain dropped 45 and 27 on 74% shooting.
On 74%.
Now, my question is this. How many 40-point games do you think there are in the finals with above 70% shooting?
1.
I was going to say, I don't know the number, but I'm pretty confident in saying that's probably 1-1. And if you want to add another level, 45 points at over 70% shooting, I don't think there's many like that. Maybe there is somewhere out there, but yeah, I don't think there is. And that was number 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Who you got coming in at your third spot?
Okay. So for my third spot, it was difficult for me to figure out which game.
I had that 61 Baylor, and then for my second spot, I had that 30-40 Russell. So you named all my. I'm just down to one spot left.
Okay, for sure. So my third spot is actually another AB, but it's the same player and it's the same series. We got Tim Duncan in the 2003 series, San Antonio versus the New Jersey Nets at the time. First, I'm going to speak on game 1. Game 1, he ends up scoring 32 points, only 1 turnover, 7 blocks, 3 steals, 6 assists, 20 rebounds, 17 of them defensive. He shot 10 of 14 from the free throw, 11 of 17 shooting from just field goal percentage, period. Game 6, he ended up scoring 21 points to go with 8 blocks, 10 assists, and 20 rebounds. 3 of 5 from the line, 9 of 19 from the field for 47.4%. Ends up winning the game by 11 to get Finals MVP.
Hey, real quick, did you know that, and you can go to YouTube if you want to see the videos, or TikTok, or wherever, they'll be all over, but do you know they say he really had a quintuple double in that game? A quadruple double?
They didn't count 2 of his blocks that should have counted, yeah. That's
considered
the snub. That's considered the snub, yeah.
Well, I do know this, too. I know for that finals he averaged something like 24, 17, like 5 assists and 5 blocks. That was like what he averaged for the finals that year.
Yeah, he was showing out, especially when it was so close to like him getting into the league. He had only been in the league for what, like 4 or 5 years? 5 years.
Well, I want to say this too. Like me, and I don't know what anybody else's criteria is, but when I'm ranking greatness, it's really about just what we can do to win the game. That's really all I care about. Like I don't care about impact. Like I've had people tell me like, Steph Curry is this and that because his impact. Everybody wants to play like Steph Curry, and I remember, and this is the way I always shut it down. I go, and nobody wants to play like Tim Duncan. Are you going to draft Steph Curry over Tim Duncan?
Well, I mean, to me, impact is important. I do think impact is important personally, as far as me picking greats and determining how good a player is. Me personally, given I've seen both of their careers, I couldn't argue with a person picking either one of them over the other as far as draft goes. You probably stand to win more by drafting Tim Duncan because even though he's not the type of player that's necessarily going to change the way the game is played, he is the type of player that's going to play the game in a way that's going to lead you to a successful tenure with him. So, and then with Steph,
not only that, I want to say this. Ever since I started like a couple of years ago when I coached JV and all that, I want to say this. I have a whole new level of appreciation for Tim Duncan because when you watch him, he never takes no bullshit shots. He's never out of defensive position. You know what I mean? Like when you say, well, he's not fun to watch. If you
He's
coach the
fundamental.
game, yeah, but I'm just saying, if you coach the game, like it is a joy watching him. Every play he's making is the correct play.
Well, yeah, I mean the thing about Tim is, and this is obviously no offense, Tim is amazing, but the thing about Tim is fun to watch if you're a fan of the Spurs or if you're a fan of him personally, or like you're saying, if you're a coach. But other than that, if you're just a person who likes the sport of basketball, he may not be fun to watch. Whereas Steph, you can hate his guts, but you can't deny it's fun to watch him play.
I got you. So what I'm saying on this, and unless Steph has one more than Duncan, which he hasn't, then I could never factor in Steph's impact as what's being greater than Duncan. Because when I'm drafting a player, like we're draft, like the way I look at rankings is like we're all in a hypothetical draft. Who's the number one pick? Who's the second pick? Who's the, you know what I mean? Like if you're trying to build a team for winning, and I would just never draft him because impact. A bunch of kids wanting to play like you isn't going to get me a win in the game.
Hmm.
So that's why I don't factor in impact at all. I just factor in like who's going to win the game.
I factor in impact because the impact causes the other teams. You feel me? The way they set up other teams, the way they set up your competition, even the way they set up certain rules. So that's the reason why impact matters to me because it can really shape the way the game is played moving forward on all ends of the court.
No,
And
it
that's
can, but when we're talking about great players, like for example, if you're talking about impact Steph Curry versus a Jamal Crawford, sure, but you can't tell me that defenses don't set up the same for Tim Duncan as they do Steph Curry. And by the same, I mean with the focus and attention.
yeah. I mean, like I was saying in the beginning, though, if we're talking about
Yeah.
Steph versus Tim, though, I mean, I really can't argue with anybody that picks either one of them. You feel me? As of right now, as far as their careers go, Tim probably edges Steph slightly, but it just depends on what you're looking for, what you value most. But we're talking about two greats, though. You feel me? We're not even talking about players that are separate tiers or two extremely different tiers. You know, they're very close. They're very similar as far as what they bring to the table. Not necessarily, contribution wise on the offensive and defensive, but I'm more so saying like you put Steph on your team, you're gonna see some victories. You put Tim on your team, you're gonna win some championships.
Well, hey, let me ask you this, and then we'll move on to the rest of our list because we're getting to be out of time. If you were starting a franchise and you had nothing and you weren't guaranteed jack shit else, would you start it with Tim or would you start it with Steph?
Have I seen them play before they got to the before the draft? Like
What I'm
do
what I'm saying is what I'm saying is I'll put it this way. Right now, with all the knowledge you have of both of them, you're starting a team in another dimension in this hypothetical draft. You can get rookie Tim to start your team, and you have no idea who else you're getting. It's the only guaranteed pick you're really getting as far as good players go. And then or Steph, they're on the board. Who you
I
choosing in
mean,
the draft?
to me, to be quite honest, I would be comfortable picking Steph. I understand like Tim is probably the answer that most people are gonna go with or gonna expect, but you gotta remember for me, I was the Davidson Steph fan. You feel me? I was a fan of Steph before he even made it to the league. So for me, I didn't know what team he was gonna go to necessarily, and I was rocking with them regardless. I was in for the long haul. So I'm gonna be loyal to that. So I still would go with Steph. Fortunately, it worked out with the team he went to, but yeah, I would go with Steph because that's what I did originally. Like I was a bigger Steph than Tim fan when they were coming into the league, and that's just the way it is
All right,
for me.
I got you. All right, so we're on your number two, right? Like, so who's number two on your list?
Hmm. Yeah. So my number two, I'm going with Giannis, the Greek Freak. I'm going with Giannis from Game Six,
2021.
the victory game, 2021, up against Phoenix. This is a game where we see
Still
Giannis,
hurts.
and I've spoke about this. I've spoke about this many a times because he literally willed his team to victory. And what I mean by that is he put them on his back. Milwaukee was not coming with it. They were not playing like they wanted to win in that first half. Giannis was literally the only player on that team that was playing like he actually wanted to win, and he kept them in contention. He kept them in a spot where at any point in time, they could end up taking over. He kept them close enough to be able to take over. So when everybody else started playing in the second half, you see what happens. Giannis ends up scoring 50 points in the game six giveaway, or not giveaway, in the game six take home game. He ends up 14 rebounds, 2 assists, 5 blocks. He was hitting his free throws, 17 of 19 after he had been struggling. He went 16 of 25. This is great numbers for the big guy. So yeah.
No, they're great. Here's what I remember about that game. Okay, so I remember the Bucks jumped out. First off, I remember after the like bullshit turnovers and all that in Game 5, because I remember after the first two games, it looked like the Suns were going to win the series. And then they struggled a little bit, and then it's like, oh, well, we got Game 5, and then when they lost Game 5, I was like, ah, you know what I mean? We're probably not going to win. Game 6, they came out, they're down 29-16 after the first quarter, right? I was like, dude, they're just going to get blown out. They're rolling over. They're dying, blah, blah, blah. No, then they came back 31-13 in the second quarter, right? They're up by 5 going into half. All the momentum. I'm like, dude, we can win this game. We got this, blah, blah, blah. I don't remember what happens in the third quarter at all. I just remember it was tied going in, and then the Bucks outscored them by 7, and Giannis went off. And that's really kind of the last time I want to talk about this series. So, who's your number one?
All right, for sure. My number one is the Magic, man. I'm going with Magic, 1980s, Game 6, LA versus Philly. He ends up scoring 42 points, 15 rebounds.
What year was it?
1980.
80. Yeah, 1980. Okay, I know what
15 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, a block. He's a rookie. He ends up starting at center when Kareem had ended up getting injured. We're seeing Magic play every position from 1 to 5. He went 60.9 from the field. He hit all his free throws. So he had a very similar game to what Giannis had. He was just slightly more efficient when it comes to his percentages from the field.
Okay. Well, I'll see you Magic. I'll see you Magic game. Can I raise you my game? My number one game of all time?
Who you got?
I got Bob Pettit, Game 6, 1958. Seals the championship with 50 and 19 on 56% shooting. Do you know how crazy it is to score 50 points and shoot 56% in 1958?
I mean, that's crazy in any year.
But even crazy, you know how bad they were shooting in the 50s. And not only that, Russell only plays 20 minutes, but nonetheless, only time Russell lost in the finals. The only time the Celtics lost in the finals. And it wasn't a Game 7, it was a Game 6. That it said,
he don't lose Game 7. He don't lose Game 7.
I think that it's 1-3 in the finals against Russell, if I remember correctly. But yeah, Game 6, 50 and 19 close out. Like I said, better overall numbers than Giannis in that regard with the 50 and 14. But for the closeout game, beating Bill Russell, who only finals he ever lost. Not only that, Bob Pettit is a friend of the podcast, so shout out to Bob Pettit. If you haven't seen the interview with him, please do. But yeah, so I mean, to me, I think overall that's just the greatest game. Like I said, I definitely try to keep all my teams, earlier in the season, because we didn't show them enough love throughout the rounds. But yeah, 50 and 19 is crazy. Like I said, in a win over the arguable GOAT in Bill Russell. And if anybody says he doesn't have an argument, I'll put it this way: anybody that doesn't, if I was Bill Russell, and I would go around saying I'm the GOAT, and anybody that wanted to try to argue with me, I was like, bro, talk to me when you got 11 rings and 5 MVPs. And that's going to be hard to top, don't you think? I mean, and not only that, because your title is the peak of team success, and an MVP is the peak of individual success.
And how many Finals MVPs?
He has none because the Finals MVP came out the year that he retired. So, but to be honest with you, I think maybe Tommy Heinsohn has an argument for best player on the first 2 titles, and that's a maybe. I think John Havlicek definitely was the best player on the last title. So at worst, he'd have 8 Finals MVPs. At worst, between 8 and 10.
Well, I mean, because they weren't giving Finals MVPs back when he was winning all of them finals, this is when his regular season MVPs matter most, because it was like, no matter what, he's winning. Realistically, we would look at him as the Finals MVP, but they weren't giving out that award. So it's like, all right, now we have to put more weight on the awards he did get because it's showing you, even though I got this good team, even though we're a dominant team, I happen to be the best player on this dominant team.
I just don't dominate with scoring, but I dominate. I don't dominate with scoring, but I dominate.
And that's the thing. He could though. That was the thing. It's not like he couldn't. He just didn't. It's a difference between when you can't and when you can and just decide not to play within the system.
And I'll put it this way, and even if you don't want to say that, you know, he could or whatever, I think we're all pretty comfortable with what we've seen in the finals and things like that, that he could average like at least 22 if he really wanted to.
Yeah.
And all that. So that was our top 10. Let's go 0 to 200 real quick.
Finish, please don't make me laugh with that half-ass gimmick. I'm about to get mine and it's about time. Call us Grindhouse, everybody in a house grind. I'm just doing me, I ain't trying to outshine. Trying to kill my vibe is how you get outlined. I don't do it for the views and the likes, boy. I'm just giving you what I wrote last night, boy. I don't care if it isn't what you like, boy. My flow is fucking awesome, ain't it, white boy?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it is, B-Dot. So anyways, we will be back next week. We'll be back and worse than ever. Until then, he's unique. I'm Tony Styles. Make sure you watch the finals tomorrow. Check in with us next week. Thank y'all.
Oh, yeah.